Carroll, bringing it forward. Thompson's making the run. Carroll hangs on to it though. Still Davy Carroll. Could go all the way here. Oh, what a goal!
Hello, I'm Phil Catchpole and welcome to this week's Ringing the Blues. Coming up on this week's show, we hear from the chairman, Rob Couhig.
We think we can stay in this division. Nothing has changed about that.
I have a chat to Wycombe's Player of the Season, Anthony Stewart.
Growing up from 15, coming all the way through, has taught me a lot of things in life, not only on the pitch but off the pitch, and I think I've finally at the point where I can say I'm a man now, and I've learned a lot through being here.
Plus, we have all the action and reaction from the trip to Kenilworth Road.
They said it was really, really close, and I'm saying, well, if it's really close, how do you judge it? He's talking millimetres.
But first, hola Uri, podemos tener los resultados, por favor.
Hola, we are ringing the blues from Mexico City. My name is Uri, and here are the results for the Championship League. Norwich City 0, Derby County 1, Blackburn Rovers 0, Cardiff City 0, Luton Town 2, Wycombe Wanderers 0, Middlesbrough 2, Barnsley 1, Nottingham Forest 1, Bristol City 2, Reading 1, Watford 0, Rotherham United 1, Huddersfield Town 1, Sheffield Wednesday 1, Queen's Park Rangers 1, Swansea City 2, Millwall 1. And as for Chairboys Spanish this week, it is very simple. Offside. Off, fuera. Side, lugar. Offside. Fuera de lugar. Or we can simply say it in Spanish, offside. Well, see you next week, hopefully with better luck in the Championship League, off with my amigo Phil Catchpole at the Ringing the Blues Studios in England. Adios!
So the Chairboys have started life in the Championship with 3 straight defeats and no goals, and it was a trip to old friends Luton Town at Kenilworth Road. Here's how it unfolded.
Fantastic battles with Luton all over the years, and they sort of became a little bit of a rivalry, didn't they, in our League Two? I think, apart from Accrington, we've probably played Luton more times than anyone else under my reign, and I think from afar, me and Nathan have both really admired each other. I've totally admired what he's done and how he kept him up last year, and I'm sure that Nathan has got respect for what we've done here at Wycombe, and to be in the Championship together, I think he's awesome.
Gareth's done a wonderful job there. They've got players that probably not played at that level, similar to Luton. We've had a few that have played there, but so look, it takes time, and what we've got to make sure is that they don't adjust to playing us. So, you know, we're only concerned with us, and the start we've had and start that we want to continue, and that's all we can concentrate on.
Cornick on the left channel, he's inside the penalty area, elects to his right, finds Ruddock takes the touch, oh what a goal by Billy Ruddock, who taps his watch and asks what the time is. It's 58 minutes and it's Luton 1, Wycombe 0. What a strike from Billy Ruddock.
Lee finds Luar, who tries to turn away from Stewart and does. Luar inside the penalty area, pulls it back across, and Elliot Lee tucks in the second goal. A good advantage initially played by referee Graham Scott, and in the end it was Luar turning away from Anthony Stewart to pull it back to the edge of the 6-yard area, and there was substitute Elliot Lee to side-foot it into the corner of the net. Luton 2, Wycombe 0.
Like, you never feel totally comfortable when you play against Wycombe because they're direct, they run, they put you under pressure. It was tough, and I thought the referee was excellent in terms of how he handled it because put a lot of pressure on him with stuff. So look, I'm delighted with the win. So whatever happened and stuff, all I'm concerned about was us. We scored 2 good goals, should have scored more, and we're going to the international break in real good place.
Gareth, a 2-0 defeat at Kenilworth Road, but an offside decision. You had a very long chat with the ref, almost as long as the chat he had with his assistant referee. What was said?
Yeah, they said it was really, really close, and I'm saying, well, if it's really close, how do you judge it? And he's talking millimetres. But listen, Phil, we've conceded 2 goals. Second one was terrible. We can't concede a goal like that. It's not us. First one you accept because it's a worldly strike, a real good strike, and some rotation in the midfield that's done us. Really positive though is we've hit the post a couple of times. We've had we've had umpteen chances in that second half. We've actually scored. It's been ruled out, offside. Whether it is or not, I won't be crying over that. I've got some work to do now. International break's coming. Window's got 2 weeks open still, and I'm looking forward to try and dabble. And we've got some big players missing as well. Gape, Akinfenwa, Ikpeazu, Tafazoli. There's a spine there that you'd expect to be effective in the championship, and believe me, it will be. Can't ask any more effort, from the boys. They give me everything. We're just coming up short at the moment.
Defeat aside, psychologically, how big a blow was it not to hit the back of the net today? That's 4 games now.
I know, yeah. There's I don't know if the boys are going for some sort of record here, but I'm not too happy about not in the back of the net. You've got to want to do it. It's becoming a thing at the moment, and who's going to get this first championship goal? It was almost our right back. I think Daryl Hogan's had one off the line. We hit the post. I think David Wheeler's hit the post, and we're close. But just at this present moment, I'll take anything. I'll take an own goal at the moment. But we'll be there. I'm not getting down or anything. Got to pick these boys up now, get them ready for 2 weeks' time, and Millwall at home, which again will be a real tough game.
Positives for Wycombe today. Curtis Thompson back starting and playing well, and the young boy Dennis Adeniran looks at home for Wycombe. Strength to strength, Dennis. I think he's going to be a cracking player. I think he will go on to big things, and I have little moments of an Eberici and an Alfie Mawson in him. He's got this swagger about him, and he's a very good player. Curtis, obviously, our battler in midfield, great to have him back. It's going to be interesting when the options come back. Got a bigger squad and some different ways of playing to choose from. Just coming short up top at the moment, and you need to be hitting the back of that net. 2 weeks off now with the international break, but you won't be resting, I'm sure, with the window open.
Yeah, I've spoke to Rob in the week. He's been fantastic. He understands where we are in the championship. We have a long-term plan for championship football, and I don't think the long-term plan is ever getting and staying. Can we stay in? Can we try and stay in? Can we battle? Can we be competitive? He's going to give me a little bit, not tons, but a little bit of funds to strengthen, because this schedule I've recognised he's going to be relentless up to Christmas now, and rotation is going to be the name of the game. Really, really hoping we can get some of the targets in that I've put forward. If we can, it'll definitely strengthen us. But again, it's a game of football. There's a lot bigger things in the world, but I would like my first goal. I would like my first win. Let's see if it's against Millwall. You said in pre-season you need a month to work out the championship. You've had a month now. What do you take into this break to think about? Yeah, mistakes have got to be eradicated. We had chances today. I don't know, people say to make a killer pass, and we just didn't get it right. We've passed to the opposition on 3 or 4 occasions. Now they didn't turn into anything, but they could have turned into something for us. They could have been positive, chances for us, and you've got to have that quality at this level. You've got to win your headers. You've got to win your tackles. I thought the centre half pair in the Luton were excellent today. I thought they won everything. Alex Sandler didn't get a kick, and Scotty Cashcott, when he came on, there was never a time when they were away from them. They were always shepherding. They were always around them, and that's championship football for you, But those two defenders played in League One as well, So they've stepped up. They've had to make the step up, and I'm expecting my boys to step up too. So that's now 4 defeats in 4 with no goals. Fire up the regional accents department. Here's what the Hatters fans had to say. Gothenburg Hatter.
Scrappy first half with Wycombe up to their old tricks, frustrating us into knocking it long. Second half was a different game, shorter, quicker passing and movement, which they couldn't cope with. A scare at the end with Wycombe scoring, but fortunately chalked off, although, to be honest, I'm not sure why. That said, they deserve nothing from the game. Well done, lads. A well-deserved 3 points. Playoffs, anybody?
Toast.
4 losses doesn't look great for Wycombe. They will need some astute tactical management to stay up. But to be honest, I'd rather see them up here than Sunderland or Portsmouth. Wycombe's challenge to stay up is far greater than ours last season, and I don't think they'll get much joy if that showing is anything to go by.
Sick boy.
We were very lucky with that disallowed Wycombe goal. I couldn't see much wrong with that.
Robbo 14.
At least the disallowed goal will give that hippie Ainsworth, by the way, what did he look like today, a chance to have a rant. Never mind, Gareth. I'm sure your lads will score at least one goal in the Championship this side of Christmas. Good luck.
Maliot Kwan.
Ainsworth has done well, but they are now in a league they don't really belong in. They were 8th after all at lockdown, albeit granted they did well in the playoffs. He does need to stop whining though. Just get on with it. They'll be back in League One next season.
Andy.
Each and every one of their players should be booked for turning up for the second half at 4:05. Did they get lost? As I'm sure this was a delaying tactic. Won't see you for a while, you long-haired streak of... Get in, Luton.
Shut up here.
I'd take 4th from bottom now if you could guarantee that 2 of those blowers would be Watford and Wycombe. Obviously hope we do better, but that would do.
Ron Manager.
Never too high, never too low. Keep your feet firmly on the ground, and yes, it's early days of a really strange season, but for us, it's so much better than this time last year.
Anthony Stewart, the current Players' Player of the season for Wycombe Wanderers. This followed a campaign in which he played every single minute of league action, all capped off by a simply massive performance at Wembley in July. He came to the club as a young boy and he has transformed in front of our very eyes into a magnificent defender. I started off by asking him what life's like in the Championship.
Now it's solid. Solid as a rock. That's what this love is. That's what we've got. Oh.
Transition's been a learning curve. What I found out is that the Championship players are a lot more sharper, a lot more fitter, and there's fine margins in us winning or losing the game, which obviously we've been punished early on. So it's a time for us to learn very quickly and move forward as a team.
Now, personally for you, last season, magnificent Players' Player of the season, played every single minute of the league season and capped off by that amazing display at Wembley. What do you put that down to? I mean, you had a lot of injury troubles in your career, but you had a really great run last season. What's the reason?
I think I've got to an age where I finally know my body. I've put in a lot of extra work in terms of off the pitch. I've been strengthening the right areas. I've started doing hot yoga, started eating a lot better, and I've obviously reaped the rewards from last season.
And how special was it to get that recognition from your teammates as Players' Player of the season?
That means a lot to me. Coming from my teammates that I work with every day, I couldn't have asked for it to come from anyone else, really.
You have a fantastic partnership with Darius Charles last season as well. You mentioned the improvement of diet and your off-the-field stuff. Has he been a big influence on you?
Yeah, it's been a big influence on me. He's a vegan. He's tried to get me along with him, but I can't go vegan yet. I've just been in and out of pescatarian, then I've been going vegan, then I've been eating meat. I've just been trying to balance my own body instead of following someone else's diet.
And this whole time you've been at Wycombe, I mean, there was that brief period you weren't at the club, but essentially it's pretty much the largest part of your life. How important has that stability been for you as a person and a player?
It's been pivotal. Growing up from 15, coming all the way through, has taught me a lot of things in life, not only on the pitch but off the pitch. And I think I've finally at the point where I can say I'm a man now, and I've learned a lot through being here. You
say you're at the point now. What's made you think that this point now?
Within the last year, there's been a lot of change. I've had a baby now, so I see things from a different perspective, and I think it's matured me in a way that it's been seen on the pitch and off the pitch. So I feel like I'm a man now, yeah.
And Richard Dobson, obviously, been at Wycombe the entire time you've been there as well. He's spoken about developing players. Wycombe have signed more players this week to develop now. It must be exciting for the club to see the development of young talent. Hopefully, in 10 years' time, we'll be talking about those players like we are to you today.
It's crazy that that's happened. When I heard about the B team, obviously I didn't know exactly what's going to happen. But now that I'm here with the boys, it's amazing because obviously we've scrapped our youth team years ago, and I forgot the feeling of when I was young, and this is what these young boys have brought back into me. When I see them, I think, you know what, how can I help them in any way? Because I remember when I was their age and trying to get a game in the first team. So it's just a pleasure to have them around, and hopefully they learn as they go. Looking back,
what would you tell your 16-year-old self today if you had the chance?
My 16-year-old self today, I would say to remain focused, to never let anyone else tell you what you can and can't do, and as long as you remain focused and set yourself on what you want to do, there's nothing that can stop you.
Fantastic. And going back to this season, I mean, it's been a tough start results-wise for Wycombe, but it was always going to be tough. Is the belief still there in the squad that results can turn and Wycombe can make an impression at this level?
Definitely. The good thing is that no one in the squad would have thought it would have been easy going to the Championship. So now that we've had a difficult start, I think it's fired the boys up even more to learn as quick as we can and to improve our game, and the quality we put into our performances will happen week by week because we've got a great bunch and there's no one that's going to turn against each other. So we're going to all go in the right direction, and hopefully that turns soon.
And the reports when you signed your new deal at Wycombe, there was a clause for a Premier League. You know, a lot of Wycombe fans will think you've got the ability to get to the top level. Is that something you've still got your heart set on?
Of course. As long as I play the game, I'm going to want to play as hard as I can. So if that means me trying to play the Premier League, that's always going to be an aim. I can never rule that out as a player and as a person. So if that does happen, that does happen. But at the moment, I'm working hard on making my name in the Championship.
We can all see that life is tough on the pitch for Wycombe Wanderers in the Championship, but what's the financial impact of being in this division, especially in these really tough times? And also, what's going on around Adams Park whilst we all can't see it? Let's catch up now with the chairman, Rob Couhig. I started him by asking him about the tough start to life in the fifth biggest league in the world.
It is tough, but we knew it would be tough, but it's exciting, isn't it? The football is so spectacular, the quality of the athletes, the quality of the clubs you play. The only regret is that our fans are not able to be there live and see it. The good news is they're watching on iFollow and the various other means and are still being very supportive of the club.
The transfer window's open. I chatted to Gareth after the game yesterday. He said he's been in close conversation with you. And, you know, it's looking like, you know, reinforcements may be coming in. What's the chairman's view on that?
Absolutely. Look, Gareth and I have always had a plan. The good news is, you know, we're very simpatico in how we approach it. We thought that this next couple of weeks would be important in terms of adding 1, 2, maybe even 3 more players. It's a funny thing. I'm very pleased with the players we have, but you need to have depth at this level. We're getting ready to go through a 3-month period in which we will play more games, I suspect, of consequence than we ever have in the club's history. So we need to bring some people in because you see how easy it is to have a little knock that takes a guy out for 3 or 4 weeks. And in 3 or 4 weeks, you might miss 7 or 8 games. So we're going to bring in some more guys who are Wycombe-type players, quality, and we're not going to bust the budget, but we'll spend some money.
Talking of budget, the promotion to the Championship, you know, in these incredible circumstances that we find ourselves in, not just in football, but in life at the moment, is it a case of trying to keep the powder dry a bit as well? Because it's an enormous amount of money for being in the Championship by Wycombe standards. Is it a case of using that money to keep the long-term, you know, future of the club prosperous, rather than sort of spending it now on players to try and stay in a division that's quite a big leap?
Yeah. Now, look, we think we can stay in this division. Nothing has changed about that. But we're not going to go spend money such that in February we're reaching around. I'm prepared. Missy and I are prepared to put money in, but that is not a long-term cure to a club. The fact that we have got to deal with our fans and some of the fact that they've put up money and the like, we need to be prepared for that. The failure to allow fans into these games is going to have a crushing, devastating effect that simply allowing government to write a check or the Premier League to write a check won't cure. So we have to be ready. Phil, I think people have gotten to know me enough to know that in crisis there's always an opportunity, and we're going to have that opportunity. We're going to use our money right, and we're going to be at the end of this year, regardless of circumstances, a club that is standing. And it's my expectation is we'll be standing in the Championship League.
Even after that first 4 games, where a lot of fans have been sort of quite blown away by the big step up from League One.
Yeah, I mean, look, if I'm totally honest, I thought we would have a couple of points by now, but that deviation from what my early expectations are and where we are is so insignificant in terms of a 46-game schedule as not to worry about. What I look at is the team progressing? And it is in every measure except production on the pitch. We have gotten more depth. We have gotten more talent. We are cohesive. The squad is solidly together. And once we get through some of these injuries and the like, I think we're in actually pretty good shape. And we'll have the depth to compete with virtually anybody in the league as we move down past this international period. Whether it translates into points or not, I can't predict. That's the one thing I have learned about English football. In a microsecond, the game changes, the points change, it all changes. But what we can do is put in a solid base, and that's what we're doing.
And when it comes to finances, I mean, going back to when all this started off, when there was huge debates about whether football could continue last season and should the season have been played out, we're now seeing the financial impact on clubs in and around the Football League, the National League, League Two, League One. Have Wycombe been proved right with their decision to vote against the not playing out the season? I mean, along with many, many other clubs, but there's still clubs in League One who are still bemoaning the fact that Wycombe, in their eyes, finished 8th in the Championship.
And I never did understand this claiming that we were 8th when we had played one less game than everybody else. That's just a difference in how we calculate here in America from there. So, yeah, from an economic standpoint, and again, this was the benefit of having been through a disaster myself, in which my entire city had faced similar issues. The first thing you have to do when you're in a hole is stop digging. And so that's what we were preaching, and I think we've been right. I think the second thing we've done that is probably different from some clubs is we have taken some of the new money that we have gotten in, either through advancement to the championship or the spectacular job our commercial people are doing, is we're putting it back into infrastructure that will produce revenue. The traditional model is you go out and you buy a big-time striker and you spend all your money on a guy who may play a full year for you or 5 years for you, but may just as easily have a twisted ankle and you get no production from it. By us putting our money into things that will ultimately produce revenue without worrying about injury, whether it's the entire Wi-Fi of the stadium, the new online stores, the worldwide Wycombe phenomenon that has actually been sensationally good in this shutdown period. It allows us to build a revenue base that will allow us to be sustainable in the championship and begin to lay the basis for even better days.
So there's great work going on around the stadium. I mean, I'm lucky enough to be able to get to match days. I can see the new floodlights and I can see the work that's going on around the stadium. So when fans do come back, albeit it may be in a staggered effect, talk us through the changes that fans will expect to see when they do get back to Adams Park, whenever that may be.
Well, as you drive into the stadium, you'll see that the Chairboys Village will be massively improved. You'll see the Wanderers Wall as you along the side of the stadium. If you have the opportunity, you'll be able to see the tunnel that brings people into the stadium has all been redone. We will actually have a portal in the tunnel, so you'll be able to see the players, and you'll be able to do this on TV as well, be able to see the players from both sides, the managers, the coaches, as they're lined up in the tunnel before the game. You'll come into the stadium. You'll see, of course, our LED boards surrounding it. You will see, ultimately, little things you won't see, the CCTV that will go all the way down to the foot of the hill as you're walking up so we can make sure everybody's safe. You'll be able to see the floodlights. You'll sit in your seat. You'll have tremendous Wi-Fi, second to none in any stadium in the UK. You'll have 65 brand new video boards throughout. We're still trying to get in the big video boards for the stadium. The list goes on and on. But in each and every instant, the audio system will be spectacular. How can you have a rock and roll football club if you don't have rock and roll type audio? And we're going to have that, and innumerable safety features being incorporated along the way. So the exciting days. The tragedy is who gets to see it except for Pete and Matt and Neil. It's and you on game days. It's but the good news, and I always try and find good news, is all of this work is not yet complete. Frankly, it's slowed down a little bit because there's no rush to get it done right now. But we would expect it all to be finished by the 1st of November or thereabouts. And hopefully by that time, people have come to their senses and said, you know what, if you can go to a pub and socially distance at the pub, you certainly can go to an outside football stadium, which has a safety officer, which has numerous people dedicated to the safety of the fans, stewards to make sure that you don't violate the rules and be able to go see a football game.
I mean, what work has been done really for sort of the, say, for example, 25%? Is there a plan in place for the club if the government do say, right, 25% of your stadium, available from the next home game? Is there a plan in place for getting that in action and who would be able to get there?
Yes. Ben Griffith, who we hired specifically to work on this, has gone through every permeation. He and David Cook, who's our safety officer, Kelly Francis, who's our COVID officer, and, of course, Pete and Matt and Neil. But we have it so that it is lined up and ready to go. If they told us we could play on Monday, we have our first 2,344 people in an itemized list. They can be contacted. They can be told where they can sit. We've done the homework to find out who lives in whose homes and the like, and are ready to go. Now, Ben will probably kill me. He'd probably say I need a couple more days, but technically we're ready to go.
We talked about changes. I mean, I remember when you first came over, when you started talking to the fans of the club before the takeover went through, you said that change wouldn't be popular. I mean, I've been looking on the gas room about the Woodlands Lounge, which is a fantastic facility. You're making Wycombe more commercially viable. You're bringing them up to championship standard. But a lot of those old guys in there and girls are a little bit upset with how that's been taken about. What would you say to that?
Well, here's the deal. You have to make a decision. You want an upgraded club or not? And as long as if for those people, and I got to tell you, the number of people who have complained are very, very few in my estimation. And it's those people who were getting the benefit of a subsidized view of the stadium. That if you go to virtually any other park, that type of situation, our charges will be the equivalent of those. And it's, sometimes, Phil, I think people just need to find something to gripe about. But we're not worried. Our fans will be happy. They'll see an increased level of service, certainly an increased level of food and drink that will be available to them, and it makes sense. The important thing, and this is what I'm pleased with Neil and Phil about, Neil and Pete about, is that they have gone out of their way to make sure that those people who used to be in the lounge have two other alternatives, so that they're still being provided for, but we're getting value for value, and that's the key. Nobody should be subsidized by the rest of the fans, and that's what was happening. So I think it'll be good.
Have you found it quite tricky taking on an organisation? Because I think a lot of the problem from this move has been the lack of sort of up-to-date contact details for people who are sitting everywhere. To bring the business up to speed, you can see the strides that Neil is making, especially commercially. But has it been difficult to have that maybe with one hand tied behind his back without the correct set of data to kind of inherit from when the trust had the club?
Well, in fairness, the trust had a different type of data than we need, and that's one of the reasons we brought Ben in. We've had Josh working with Neil. We're trying to build, and recently Harry Gadd came on board. We're always trying to build a better informational system about our, I almost made the tragic error of calling them customers, our supporters. We want to know as much about them as possible so we can help them as much as we can. Neil has worked with the data that's been given, and we're always upgrading it. But look, anytime we've taken over a business of any kind, you have to make, the reason generally you take them over is that you think that you can help them progress. And so that's what we've been doing. And it's been the only frustration I have felt, or two, I guess, and then they're related to the same thing. Missy and I had fully intended to spend all of July and August in the UK working on the club, maybe taking a vacation from there, and then I expected to be over there at least a week a month since last March. Instead, I've been over there one time for 4 days, and because of the quarantine, could not do anything except sit at Pete's apartment, basically, and so I came home. And then I've got Pete, who I feel so bad for because he's over there, and I've got his family here, and we're trying to get him to come home a little bit. Those are things not to complain, but are realistic in that that creates more of a barrier. As you may have suspected, I'm a pretty hands-on guy. Missy likes to be hands-on with the merchandise and the making sure the customer appreciation part is being done right. Neil and I get along great, but there's nothing in Matt and Pete and Gareth, but a weekly or 3 times a week or 4 times a week Zoom call does not substitute for being there, feeling it, being able to get out and mix with the fans and talk to them and getting a real direct deal. We did a video call with the trust board last week. We're doing as much as we can, but the physical geographic distance starts to wear on you after a while.
I was going to say, when you first started talking to the club, no one saw this coming, this global pandemic and whatever. Is this sort of tainted it a little bit for you? Because, this is the best time in the club's history. You're fully involved in that, fully, partly responsible for it, yet you're having to kind of almost do this from a distance. It must be incredibly frustrating for you.
It is. And for, look, Gareth and I have developed a good relationship, but again, it's it's like dating a girl over the summer, that you went to high school with. She's gone. And so you're trying to maintain those relationships, but it's a 30 minutes here, 20 minutes here phone call, as opposed to drifting by the training facility and having a cup of coffee you probably know this. Gareth and I used to have coffee early mornings in Marlow before the rest of the world was waking up, so we could have that one-on-one time to talk about bigger things than whether or not we're going to hire this guy or bring in this guy or that guy, but the overall philosophy. And that's the part I miss. That's the part I enjoy. But I always have to remind myself, so many people have been through so much else, and we have been so wonderfully fortunate in what has happened to us that, I should never complain.
Let's bring this back to the football then. A lot of fans very excited about the introduction of a B team for Wycombe Wanderers and younger talent to be developed by the club. Obviously such a great track record until the academy was closed down. That's a real positive step, isn't it?
It is. And you may remember a year ago I was saying that this would occur. It was one of the first things Gareth and I talked about, the need for developing younger people. I'm not a big fan of the academy, but I am a big fan of this because I think to try and develop 12-year-olds is an entirely different thing than trying to develop 18, 19, 20-year-olds. In Dabo and we have a great guy to kind of do it, and we brought in Sam Grace, who's perfect fit for the club. The one thing, and maybe the fans could help me out with this, I don't particularly like the name B team or reserve squad because it's not right. It's not really appropriate. These guys practice with our first team. Some of them will be there on a Saturday or a Tuesday or Wednesday night on the squad. Really, it's just a younger group of kids of men who we're developing. It's more of a developmental squad, I guess, than that. And some of our people on the first team will be playing with them in the games. This was all about adding to the depth we need to compete at this level.
So what we're saying is then is people can get in contact and suggest the new name for the B team.
That would be fantastic.
Have you put a business plan in place in terms of when you'll see players either stepping up into the first team or being loaned out or sold even to create revenue for the club? Is that the model?
Well, to say that we have a business plan would be overly formulistic. What we're going to do is we're going to help these guys develop. Our expectation is that they will help the club on the pitch for us at some point. Now, it is the nature of English football and something I am still getting used to, which is so many players move from club to club rather than becoming, tied to the club for longer periods of time. So some of them obviously will move at some point. All of them we expect to create value for the club, either on our pitch or in the transfer market ultimately. They're great. And look, here's what I like about them. They go through the Wycombe test. Are they our kind of people? Are they dedicated to being great teammates? Are they willing to put in the time and effort to become better players? If they don't make those two tests, really, we never even get around to looking at their physical ability because we have a culture that we're going to preserve and we're going to make it, frankly, the model for other clubs. We're not trying to model ourselves after anybody else. We're trying to be the best that we could be, doing it our way.
And Rob, final one for me. I've been watching your interviews on the club website and other bits and pieces. And one thing that I picked up on, you called the parking area outside the stadium the car park and not the parking lot. And I started to realise we're slowly making you British, aren't we?
Hey, I'm learning the language. I'll go with that. Look, it has been, other than, as we say, the obvious, it's been a wonderful, wonderful experience. Our biggest regrets is not getting to spend more time there, learn more of the language, and spend time with the fans. Missy and I are fan people. We don't claim expertise in the sport. We claim a great love of being with people at events and having a great time. And that's what we want to do again. So, and look, Phil, I got to tell you this. The world listens to you during these games, and we really appreciate your bringing Wycombe football to the world.
Right, that's your lot for this week. It's the international break now, so we'll be back in a couple of weeks' time. Don't get too down, and just remember the international break used to mean waiting around till 4 days before a game to find out it had been postponed because a 17-year-old left-back had been called up to play for Scotland under-21s. At least we know we've got a couple of weeks off. Keep your heads up, and we'll be back soon. Big thanks to Rob Couhig and Anthony Stewart for this week's show. Come on, you Blues.